Morning. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome. Those of you who want to watch it out in the back area there can watch it there if you feel uncomfortable with the crowd. You can't sit down. You could you could watch it in the lobby if you want. Welcome to the Nevada Irrigation District Board of Directors and the Nevada Irrigation District Joint Powers Authority board meeting today. So I'd like to have you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the public comment. And these are items that are not on the agenda. And
Specify the date.
yeah. And we would require that you keep your public comment to items that are within our subject matter jurisdiction. And also, because we have a unique item on number 6, which has to do with the Foothill Waters CWC Centennial request with the CWC, could you keep those comments for item 6? And so if you want to address items about the Centennial, not about item number 6, you can do that in the public comment. And again, try and keep it under 3 minutes and within the subject matter.
Good morning, Marin Lipowitz, Grass Valley. I'd like to invite everyone to join me in the Earth Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the Earth and all the life it supports, one planet in our care, irreplaceable, with sustenance and respect for all. Happy V-Day, Board. I brought you some V cards today. In this case, well, first of all, a disclaimer, because these aren't from me. They're with love from the Bear River. And it says, Happy V-Day, no dam, love our Bear River. And V, in this case, is victory. Victory for the bear is no dam. And then just to sweeten it a little bit, there's a couple of gummy bears and a little extra love there as well.
Okay.
So happy V-Day, guys. Okay, I would like to urge the board to put Centennial as a standing item under general orders at each board meeting. This would give the public a chance to hear an update of where the project is at and ask questions. It would open up this issue to the community, which I think is something that's needed. And I think it would be a first step toward real community input and participation, which is essential for this project for several reasons. Public involvement circumvents objections. Many hands, hearts, and minds make light work. And a consortium of water and environmental agencies would bring a spectrum of valuable input to the table, allowing a solution that's not only broadly accepted, but more practical and forward-looking than a dam.
Hey, Gary, leave it open, please.
Thank you.
And because there's so many, could you keep it, it's 3 minutes, but we'll try and keep it within 20 to 30 minutes here, okay?
I'll talk as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Lou Sister, District 1.
You're on the right
I'm
track.
a small farmer buying agricultural water for over 40 years. and also using potable water from NID for household use. I want to applaud, as a retired high school teacher, I want to applaud the students from Sierra Academy Expeditionary Learning for being here. It's a great way to get to know the legal process and also engage in the community. 2 suggestions. As a small farmer, I went to NID to try to cut down on my water supply during the worst of the drought, and I found out there would be costs in doing that, and also the savings financially wasn't so great. And then would be, if water returned in abundance, there'd be additional costs to readjust the supply. I decided not to do it. I did it at my own home end without any cost at all. But I would encourage, number 1 suggestion for NID to look at ways in which to incentivize conservation, because whether the dam gets built or not, conservation will be the key issue in my mind as how we use our water. Second suggestion is I've been conducting a series of interviews dealing with local issues. The first series dealing with homelessness in Nevada County. Second series dealing with Centennial Dam, and been fortunate to interview many people, soon to interview others from the board and staff at NID. What I've noticed is there is a similar dynamic that needs to be looked at, and that is the county has hired and designated Brendan Phillips to lead the effort in resolving or working on the problem of homelessness. And he's been able to do that. He has a great attitude towards collaboration. There are many, many groups that work towards resolving the problem of homelessness. I see NID in a similar position where I would suggest, number 2, that NID look at designating someone on the staff to work with community groups who really have the same issues in mind. You know, how to preserve the environment, how to conserve water, how to resolve the issues of climate change. And so I think that there are many groups here that would welcome the opportunity to work with NID in a collaborative way rather than oppositional, confrontational. And I think the board would appreciate that as well. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Michael Hillwell, resident of Division 1. NID Policy 5070.5 addresses the issue of decorum. It provides, and I quote, "The chairperson shall take whatever actions are necessary and appropriate to preserve order and decorum during board meetings, and may declare a short recess at any time." Webster's Dictionary defines decorum as propriety and good taste in conduct, orderliness, and the conventions of polite behavior. Over the last 18 months, I've watched chairpersons struggle to maintain decorum in board meetings, while board members interrupt each other and the public, bark comments at the audience and individuals, and meander around the room during staff presentations, board discussions, and public testimony. I believe that decorum is important to the conduct of the people's business, and I urge board members to reflect on their behavior and, where necessary, change their behavior to support the chair in maintaining decorum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Otis Wallen, live on the Bear River, right next to the Bear River Campground, and I'm appreciating the opportunity to address the board. I want to talk a little bit about finance. 1 year ago this month, I presented a paper that estimated the cost of this project to be $500 million. Recall in 20...
This is now, it is a finance item. The chair did ask.
There are two pieces here. And the cost at 2015 was $160 million, and went up $100 million in 2016, $100 million in 2017.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I missed what you said.
I'm hoping that in repeating, in responding, I'm hoping to have the time to be able to do this. If they could adjust that, it'd be appreciated.
Sure.
In 2015, the estimate for this dam was $160 million. In 2016, it went up to the mid-200s. In 2017, you're into the 300s. And now in 2018, the CWC economists say it's a $490 million present net value project. Will NID contest the state's economic analysis? Will you begin using these figures publicly because the public perceives that you're undervaluing the project's cost, and that's perceived as deceiving the public, which brings me to debt service ratio. I've heard both Scott and Nick saying that you have will be offering bonds at AA+ ratings and at 2%.
That's to be determined.
That is to be determined. I urge you to have a workshop on debt service ratios to see what is affordable for the agency. That doesn't have to be done after project description. You can figure out what is affordable by doing your debt service ratio. Gary Zimmerman, the retired senior economist from the Federal Reserve Bank in San Francisco, did that for you in his NOI comments. And he pointed out in your last borrowing, you had a debt service ratio of 3.77, which means you had almost 4 times as much money as you needed to pay down those debts, which is why you had a AA+. He did the calculations for what you're going to have to do on the Centennial. Your debt service ratio was 0.25. Note that anything below a 2 is not an investment grade bond, and 0.25 is so far into the junk bond territory that believing you'll have a AA+ rating is a fantasy. And believing you can get 2% with that kind of a debt service ratio is also wishful thinking. So you are being perceived as deceiving the public when you make these kinds of comments which are not based on economic analysis. So I urge you to have a workshop, that you do this publicly, and that you not go forward with misinformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Moorbeck, members of the board, staff, and members of the public. My name is Bob Gore. I live in District 2. On February 12th, NID had a meeting with the neighbors in Rattlesnake Road about the Rattlesnake Road backbone extension. Mr. Drew was kind enough to show up and answer questions to the people that were there. I thought it was a very good meeting. It gave a lot of information to the people that were interested in this project. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we're at maximum now in the room. I'd request that we excuse senior staff so that we can allow for folks to have a little bit of space.
So moved.
If you don't have an item on the agenda, would you please adjourn from the meeting? Thank you.
And anybody else that wants to watch it out in the lobby can if they're uncomfortable in here.
It's at 2:24. Good morning.
I had you covered, don't worry.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Moorbeck and the board. My name is George Hoffecker, and I'm a resident of Meta Vista, so I'm outside of your constituency, but affected by the proposed dam. I have 2 questions and then 1 request. Now, I recognize that you're unable to address these now, but I want to go on the record with these 2 questions and my request. So thank you very much for the opportunity. It's good to be here. I was a principal for many years at the Yuba River Charter School and worked at a local school district, so I love this area too. It's good to be back. The first question is it true that NID is using taxpayers' money for property acquisition before it has a permitted project? That's a question that I've had, and I have not been able to get an answer to that. The second question I have is, what is the status of the environmental impact statement that I understand is being prepared by the Army Corps of Engineers? Will there be opportunities for public comment once the draft EIS is prepared? And then how will the public be notified of these opportunities, especially those of us outside the NID's constituency area that would be majorly affected by the Centennial project? So they're my 2 major questions. And then I have a request that the Centennial Dam project be a standing item on the NID agenda, and that given the number of people and communities that will be potentially affected by the project, if it is completed, could the district consider live streaming of the NID meetings for transparency's sake, as so many government agencies do. So I think that's essential, and I appreciate the opportunity to make these comments here. Thank you very much.
A year ago on Valentine's Day, I was asked to deliver you a message.
Could you state your name?
State your name for the record.
State your name for the record.
My name is Karen Perry. I'm a property owner on Milk Ranch Road, a mile from the area that you all want to destroy. And in 2012, my husband and I purchased our dream home there. And it told us on the listing that it was a mile to a river, a walk. And I thought, how amazing. And then I learned in 2014 of your plans that put me in the collateral zone, my kids, my family. I've had to live every day with pain and suffering. But again, I was asked to deliver you a message, and I was asked to come with an open heart. And so I've had to dig deep to want to do that, because I've literally hated each and every one of you. You want to destroy something that should never be in your control to destroy. And I've had to live with not being able to disclose, to sell my home without disclosing this project. I'm in your collateral zone. I'm going to have to live with listening to every tree chainsawed, every bush masticated. My road is going to be dead-ended. I'll have no access to water. I will have to listen to trucks haul out all of the debris from 7 miles of River Canyon. And I don't want to do that. And I wanted to come today with love in my heart instead. Because a year ago, I found this at the river, because the river asked me to come and bring you this. It's about love. That's what it's about. And if you use love as your guide, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't have had to come here today as a mother bear protecting her cubs. Use love. You are the elders of this community. And Rem, you came here to build a dam, not to have to think about other creative, innovative, interesting ways.
Ma'am, could you direct your comments to the board?
Okay.
Please.
So
I don't mean to interrupt you.
I'm
but-
asking the board.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm
If somebody
asking.
wants to, hold on 1 second here. If you want to comment, please come to the podium and comment. I'm not talking to you, ma'am. But when you make your comments, please do it to us right here. Okay? I'll give you more time. So go ahead.
So I'm asking as the elders, you have 20 years on this board, 18 years, 16 years, 10 years. You have a legacy that you're going to leave. Let the legacy be love that you're returning to this community instead of this divisive, destructive project that will destroy and kill. It's about love, and we're looking to you to do that. And this message comes from the river.
Thank you.
Let love flow. Would you like to touch my rock? I'd love for each of you to touch the rock.
Ma'am, you could just leave it here.
Diana Suarez, Centennial Chaos. According to NID Director Nick Wilcox's op-ed, January 5th, 2018, quote, any claims by opponents regarding the project, including water gained from proposed alternatives, costs, and funding mechanisms are premature and completely speculative at this point. The information is not yet available, end quote. And according to Director John Drew on January 24th, quote, at the next board meeting, there will be a video presentation on the birds, fish, frogs, and turtles that are going to benefit immediately, directly, and sustainably as a result of Centennial. This is also going to include a very significant recreation panel on the recreation opportunities that are going to be available from Centennial, and will also include a very comprehensive presentation on the agricultural aspects that will benefit from Centennial. So, the The opponent's claims are premature and completely speculative, as the information is not yet available. However, Director Drew has invested ratepayer money in a public relations video to promote the Centennial Dam proposal. This leads to some questions. How much did the new video cost to create? Is it fair for the NID board to use ratepayer and taxpayer money to create a propaganda video to sell them a dam? In his op-ed, Director Wilcox goes on to state, quote, "As a retired professional scientist, I will make my decision based on all the facts, detailed analysis, and careful deliberation. In the end, facts will matter." If the NID board is supposedly neutral and awaiting the facts, why is Director Drew shamelessly promoting this destructive dam? Why has Director Wilcox himself given multiple presentations and even debated aggressively in favor of this dam project? And finally, why is there no equal time given to promote Bear River recreation and ecology, which does exist, is not speculative, and continues to enhance our quality of life and grow our local economies? The Nevada Irrigation District has failed in their stated goals to, quote, "continue to be good stewards of the watersheds while conserving the available resources in our care." Our Bear River watershed stands as a glaring example of this failure. According to Sierra Streams Institute, quote, "like the neighboring Yuba River, the Bear has suffered extensive impacts from its history at the heart of gold country and is one of the most heavily managed watersheds in the state for flow, with numerous dams and diversions. Unlike the Yuba River, however, the Bear has heretofore lacked stewardship and not had the benefit of coordinated planning, monitoring, and restoration efforts. The Nevada Irrigation District Board has failed the Bear River watershed and the people who live here. How long will it take for this board to realize their folly and work to restore the damage that has been done? Thank you.
My name is Jordan Perry. I am unrepresented. I live on Milk Ranch Road. About a half mile from me, people do have representation on your board, but I don't. To show you respect, I dressed up today, so I hope you appreciate that. But I'm here to represent the future. And the future has a really important, wonderful bit of news. This dam will not be built.
Okay, hold on. Hold
So
on. Hold on.
I'm addressing you.
No, I know, I'm talking about the audience. Could you keep the comments down? If you want to comment, you can come up here. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you add time, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So I'm here to talk about the future. The future without this dam. The future without you as directors. The future without your general manager. Because legacies are like nicknames. You don't get to pick your own. I know, John, you think this is your legacy. But your legacy is going to be something different because the public is going to decide. We're going to look at what you've done, and we're going to make this determination. And right now you're dividing the community. You're threatening my family. I have two ways out. I live in a very, very severe wildfire area. When I don't have that second way out, when that fire starts, when my family dies, that will be your legacy. And I'm just one. I don't like to talk about the micro, but that's really what it is. I'm just one person. And there's hundreds of me. There's thousands of me that you are threatening right now with your continued behavior to try to build this dam. So because your legacy is on the line, and because I believe that 3 of you will be voted out by people that will reject the dam and will remove the leadership of NID and will put you back in the right direction, it is my hope that you can seize this opportunity to actually make your own nickname, set your own legacy. You can vote to terminate this project. You can vote to get rid of your general manager. You can also then take the $7 million in property you've acquired before having approval for this dam and donate it to the Bear Yuba Land Trust and the Placer Land Trust. And you can create the Centennial Nature Preserve, a true legacy, something you can be proud of, something your children and grandchildren can go see. And you can say, we had a choice to kill this river, to destroy this community, to put families at risk. And we thought about it, and we made some bad early decisions, but then we got right with ourselves, with the river, with our legacy. This is a day of love. I don't really have a lot of love for your organization, and I'm unrepresented. So I'm here to tell you that I will be on that line until the end, and that dam will not be built, and I will celebrate. And I hope that you can also join that celebration on that day, because that will be a great day. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks.
kind of sucks having to go after those last three speakers. Nicole Ragland, Grass Valley. I just want to add that you are not dividing the community, you're uniting the community. And the divide is between us and you right now. I stand with all of those people who are underrepresented, and I'll stand with them when the time comes to block roads. I'll be there. I'm here today to ask for a bit more of transparency. You video the meetings, you live stream them, that's great. We don't know what happens when a committee is held. We don't get to see the notes. They aren't posted publicly. Anything can happen in those meetings. If a director is not present, we aren't allowed to ask for the notes. If one of you is there, I believe under the Brown Act, we do have rights to those, but they aren't posted online or publicly. One comment towards the proposed Centennial Dam. You want to protect the community because of climate change. But sometimes you have to look at what your remedy does in the end result, because it doesn't always have an effective resolution. I equate this dam to having head lice, and you're setting your hair on fire to get rid of the head lice. You're creating a situation that not only puts your life in danger, but creates an inhospitable situation. And that's what this dam is doing. You're destroying the natural ecosystem, the balance that we need to correct climate change. A dam does the opposite. It creates potable water, but not in a way that stops the problem. And so climate change will continue and it will accelerate because of the dam. I'm also looking at the big picture. I'm against the commoditization of our rivers and streams. They belong to the people. They're part of the commons. And what you're doing, I just honestly don't know how you sleep at night. You're taking people's homes, you're taking away nature, and you're actually accelerating climate change. Thank you.
My name is Robert Hain, and I have not publicly spoken against the Centennial Dam until now. What I'm going to say is not necessarily, some of it is hearsay that I've heard. I would like to talk about the first general meeting that you had for the public. It was at Grass Valley and at Sierra College, and your speaker, at the end of his speech that he gave, he said that we've already bought so much property that we are almost broke. So that was a public statement made by NID. One of my questions is, if you're almost broke, how do you intend on paying for this dam? And the other thing that I heard, which is sort of a rumor, that you had 3 rainy day funds set aside for emergency repairs on your canals. And again, this was a sort of a rumor that I heard, but a pretty reliable source, and that money has been transferred out and those accounts have been closed. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But this comes down to Mr. Wilcox's article that was in the Auburn Journal a couple weeks ago. Very nice article. At the end of that article, it talked about the fact that there was an EIR study taking place, and it was going to take maybe another 2 years. And I'm coming around to an internal audit. So he said at that time there could be no internal audit of NID. That's what the article sort of says. Because of the fact you want to wait till the end of the EIR is done. So if you're talking that you can't do an internal audit of where your money is or where it's being spent or how much has already been spent, or have you been buying property already before the EIR is even completed, the only thing I can say to this board is shame on you, because you are not doing proper protocol, and that's not the way business gets done. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. I forgot to make a statement at the very beginning. For those of you who've been here the first time that are students, during the public comment period, we don't generally react to this. So anything that is said doesn't mean that we acquiesce or challenge it one way or the other. It just, because of the Brown Act, we're not really allowed to comment on it because it's not on the agenda. So those of you who are students can recognize that silence doesn't mean admission, either way. Okay, so just so you all know. Thanks. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Morbeck. I'm Mike Pasner, owner of Indian Springs Organic Farm. I farm locally with NID Water for 32 years. I'm here now to ask you to open up the Vegetation Management Working Group. I know Nick just said he would not do that. This is inappropriate. There's no good reason to not open this group to the public. Many ranchers and farmers have ideas that you could use to get a better position for not using so much herbicides. That's the goal. Transparency is important. Open the group to the public. This 20 minutes limit on public testimony should be waived. It should be ignored. It should be taken off of the record. Why won't you listen to the constituency and give us whatever time it takes? Thank you very much.
Bob? Yes?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Board. Bob Brandstrom from Grass Valley. I've been coming to board meetings for about 2 years now, and during that time, I've noticed a significant increase in public participation in these meetings, which I'm happy to see. I think the public should be very involved in these big decisions, such as Centennial and other issues that come up before the board. What I've also noticed is that the staff has noticed more people coming and parking problems, and they have started sequestering parking spaces for other people coming to NID for other business, and I have no problem with that. My request to the board is that NID on board meeting days move a dozen or so of the vehicles. There must be at least a couple dozen NID vehicles out in the parking lot. Find another place for those to open up this main parking lot so that all the people coming to the meeting don't have to park on the street. Be more welcoming by opening up the parking lot during board meeting days. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll end public comment, and I will put this little gizmo away. Thank you for remaining on topic. The next item we have is a consent agenda, and I think Director Weber had a question about consent.
I just had a comment on the warrants. I don't know whether Marvin is still here, but I really appreciate the new format. It's much easier to read, and it's great. I also have a question about number 5. If we could pull that.
You want to pull it?
It's a short one.
Or just
you want to pull it?
It's up to you. If you want to,
I'll just ask the question.
Just ask a question so we don't have to pull it.
Okay. The Greenhorn, folks on Greenhorn are trying to get water line extensions, so I'm wondering what this Blair Court would offer to them. So is this Chip's? Chip's gone.
Well, forward. Rim, can you forward that question to Shannon?
Can we then, for the convenience of the meeting?
I can shed a little bit of light, in that the water line extension is part of Blair
State
Court.
your name.
Doug Roderick, senior engineer. Is related to the small subdivision, the 4-lot subdivision that's being put in. That's coming off existing pipelines already on Greenhorn.
And that's, if I
And that's a
remember,
developer
4 lots
project.
commercial?
Yes.
Okay, so this is not an extension
No.
of Greenhorn Road. This isn't a lateral off it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Division 1?
Aye.
Division 2?
Aye.
Division 3?
Aye.
Division 5?
Aye.
Division 4?
Aye. Okay, we're moving now to general orders, Foothill Water Network. Tracy, were you going to present this? Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay.
This was a request by Foothill Waters Network to be on the agenda. They provided all the documentation and the information.
Okay. Good morning, Board. My name is Tracy Sheehan. I'm with the Foothills Water Network. I had assumed when I saw the staff report that there would be, as per usual agenda items, that there would be first a staff update on what the application says. So I would request that actually, that there would be an update.
Yeah, you requested this.
Yes.
Okay.
I requested that the Board of Directors and the staff give an update on this application
Okay.
on the agenda.
Okay, so under the recommendation that we have here, the recommendation says direct staff to not appeal the PBR scores and to remove the Centennial Reservoir project application from further consideration.
That's right.
That is
That is
not
ours,
staff.
yep.
Well,
And here's the
I
reason why.
I can help her with that.
Yes, I will give the reason why first, and then maybe
Oh, I
we'll
was
open up.
going to actually make that motion for you.
I'd love to. I'll give the background on it just in case
You
so
do
people
want to
understand
have
why it.
podium, sure.
So we're very happy that the board has put this on the agenda. Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad that the board has thought of this. And I want to highlight the fact that this application started just about 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, when there was a decision made to co-fund a study with Aqua, which looks at integrating the Centennial Project with other projects in the state, presumably to send water out of district. And for that reason, the board has, at some degree, looked at this question, at least in September, decided that, yes, it's true, this is a bad deal for the district. Board members said this is a bad deal for the district. We don't want the strings attached to taking this grant money, because then we could be forced to send water out of the district beyond our control and our ability. But to be clear, this is the first time in 2 years that the board has been asked a strategic question on this application.
Dr. Miller?
Go ahead.
And to support what you just said, we're not on a timer. This is a
I know, I was just
That's
checking.
the beauty of it.
I was just checking.
Yeah,
So
that's the beauty.
If
It
you
was,
want to.
I have the minutes from August. You said September. I have
Okay.
August because
Okay, August.
well, I'm reading minutes. Director Miller made a motion to the board to direct the general manager to not commit any water outside of the district as part of the Proposition 1 grant application. Director Weber seconded, and the motion unanimously approved. Indeed.
Mhm.
We do.
And at that meeting, there was a resolution passed that gave authorization to the general manager to authorize everything, all contracts with the grant program. And we subsequently found out that contracts supersede management direction, meaning still on the record is a resolution where the board has said that the general manager can sign those contracts, and that supersedes management direction. So I just wanted to highlight that. So it really is a strategic question before the board right now of whether you want this application to move forward. And so the network has written a letter. Okay, can I just go through it first? And then the network has written a letter asking that you not move forward to throw good money after bad on this appeal. And one reason why is you'll hear from other folks is that it's true that a lot of the projects didn't fare very well. They scored very low on the public benefit ratio. But to be clear, if you read the news articles and are following along as the network has, it's very clear that the Centennial application is one of the hardest hit out of 3. It's really only 3 that scored 0. And it says in the press and in other places we've heard from commission staff that Centennial is the hardest hit. The other thing that I really want to highlight in the letter is the fact that you could choose right now to say, yes, let's appeal this and move forward. But in May, when they decide the final public benefit ratios, the commission staff are also going to recommend what projects should not move forward, what applications should not move forward. And the network feels, after watching this process and hearing discussions actually with NID, that the NID application will be found ineligible because it does not benefit the Delta, because you're not sending or selling water down for the Delta. And so you could get through that appeal process and then find out in May that it's ineligible and the application can't move forward.
Director Miller?
Okay, that's it.
So again, the motion was unanimous that we,
Oh.
not commit waters back, that was that. But at this time, I would like to motion, motion that we not appeal our rejection in this.
I would.
Simple enough, we don't appeal it.
I'd like
They
to have
didn't like
some-
the fact that we weren't giving them water.
Yeah,
so.
I would be happy to second that motion.
I'd like to have some discussion on this before we vote on it.
You're correct, Nancy, there needs to be discussion.
Go ahead.
And then public comment.
Director Weber?
I have to say, I'm an old grant writer, and I've had success competing against Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento area school districts on innovative program that became a state model program and later was integrated into the regular funding possibilities for these programs. I also recently at the high school was the developer of a program to prevent tobacco use among kids, and it covered all of the grade levels. It covered the whole county, this part of the county. So I'm trying to establish that I have some kind of credentials as a grant writer, and most of you probably don't know that, and it's not about me. But I have to say, in reading this application, I was appalled. This grant is granted a tough sell because you're exchanging one type of habitat for another. You're exchanging one type of recreation for another, and it costs money to do that. But the person who wrote this was not a grant writer, and it was very inadequate, and I'm embarrassed by it. So what they didn't do was have a clear idea, a vision, I think, of some sort of an innovative program that would interest the guidelines, the people who are establishing who established the grant reviews. The guidelines always need to be followed precisely. They were not followed. You have to show how to get the ideas into implementation. That was not shown in several places. And every documentation to back up what you're doing needs to be adequate. So we need to do some sort of internal review on this. In our community, there are at least 3 really competent grant writers, any one of which could have done a better job than this. So I would ask certainly and agree with that we withdraw the appeal. But in the future, that we don't submit something that is not our best foot forward. This makes us look incompetent. We have water people want. We need to be protection of that, and we always need to do a better job than this. Sorry. Thank you.
Is there
And
any
don't
other,
clap, for God's sake.
any other board comment?
I have some comments.
Go ahead.
But I'll let, if John wants to go or Scott, you go first.
Director Drew?
No, we have a motion in a second, don't we?
Yeah, but I was gonna get public comment after that.
But
Director Wilcox.
I would like to make a couple comments, for the record. I find myself wholeheartedly agreeing with Tracy on this issue. Perhaps not for the same reasons, but, but I agree with her.
I can't hear a thing you're saying, Nick.
Thank you. I will try and speak up. Yeah, I would like to point out.
He agreed with Tracy.
Well, I agree with Tracy's conclusion, not necessarily her logic in getting there. I would point out, just for the record, and this just doesn't amplify, so it doesn't help.
Actually, it does.
It does. Oh, it does.
Actually, it does.
Okay, then I will speak directly into the microphone. I'd like to point out for the record that the money we're requesting is rather small in comparison to the overall cost of the project, and therefore, whether or not we receive this grant funding is actually not on the critical path for completing this project. And I know that at that September meeting, I expressed serious reservations on this process, although I did express my support for participating in the process, and I feel that some of the information and experience that we've gained in the process has been valuable. I think, in particular, the analytical work done by Aqua in analyzing all of the projects was highly valuable. And I agree that the act of accepting state money brings with it conditions that are likely to be unacceptable to the district. And therefore, I think there is serious risk to the district in participating in this sort of a program. I think that if we were to participate in this program, I think it would severely restrict the district's ability to respond in a positive way to periods of extended, critically dry years. And that's really the point of this project, is to provide drought resistance to our community so that we can survive multiple critically dry years. These conditions are likely to occur more frequently in the future. The climate is changing, the snowpack is shrinking. I don't think there's really any debate about that. I certainly haven't heard any debate from people in the community about that. 3 years ago, I sat down with Caleb Dardig, Executive Director of Circle, and we talked about the project. And I challenged Caleb at that time. I said, Caleb, if you can show me alternatives to the project that generate real water such that it compensates for our lost snowpack, then I will listen. I just have to be honest that since that discussion, lots of alternatives have been suggested, but in my opinion, they do not come close to providing real water to replace the lost snowpack. And that's the fundamental issue. I've certainly heard it said that there's no public benefits to this project. Tracy was careful. She was saying there are no delta benefits to this project. But I would argue that this project is not being proposed and pursued to provide delta benefits. I actually have some familiarity with the delta, as you are well aware. This is a local project. This project protects our local community, and there's not really enough water in this system to protect our local community and provide delta benefits. And so therefore this needs to be pursued as a local project, and it should always remain so. I very, very happily seconded Scott's motion. I know Nancy feels the same way. And I will get down off my soapbox. I agree that we should not appeal this score. Many of the agencies scored rather poorly, as Tracy mentioned. Quite frankly, our low score was well-deserved. Because, and I really have no problems with the low score that we received from the State Water Commission, because this is a local project. This is really not a Delta-centric project. Our responsibility as board members is to protect our local community during periods of extended drought. And it's as simple as that. So, I'll climb down from my soapbox, turn
Thank
the
you.
podium over to Will or whomever.
Okay, thank you, Director Wilcox. We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment specifically on this item?
Can I go first on public comment now?
Certainly.
Of course. Thank you.
Sure.
It's very true that we do not agree with Director Wilcox on many points, and one of them we do agree on is serious risk, that this application would pose a serious risk to the district and their area of origin water rights. And it's not just this application, frankly, because when you're talking about developing water for local use, if NID chooses to assert their area of origin rights and still asserts, like they did in a water rights protest in a legal document, that they can sell water out of the district, that it's never been adjudicated, that has not happened. When directors go to debates and explain that they're talking to the Santa Clara Water District about selling water out of the district, when we hear that there have been internal discussions about selling water out of the district, that's in direct contradiction with area of origin water rights and in direct contradiction with what the purpose of this project is. And that is a huge issue that the network has. And frankly, what we've heard lately also, since you've had your soapbox now, I'm taking mine also.
And I'm listening
Yes,
intently.
I know you are. It's like another debate. Frankly, we've heard through the years about how Centennial would be paid, and now through process of elimination, it's true that this was not a lot of grant money, but it did start out as $160 million. Now it's only 11. Through process of elimination, the only avenue left now is revenue bonds, and we've heard that there'll be 50-year revenue bonds to pay for Centennial Dam. What revenue will be generated by this project to pay for revenue bonds? It only points to water sales. And what directors have said in debates around the district feed directly into that. What you've said in your water rights protests and legal documents about area of origin rights, exactly that. And frankly, the idea that public officials in an area of origin water rights are raising the flag to the rest of the state and to the state board about area of origin rights not being effective is of great concern to the network, and it should be to many other people in this room. And now I feel like I have to end my soapbox with that, actually.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Okay.
Please state your name.
And I don't care to
Hold on,
respond.
1 second here. Director Miller.
Tracy, this is an agenda, so we get the dialogue. That's the beauty of it.
Okay.
All reasonable what you say.
Yeah.
When did Nick join this board? And the reason I ask that,
Right.
he and I have always, he came on talking about water sales.
Yes, I know that.
It's not this project, it's him. I mean, peace and love, but and I'm the guy over here that, and this was one of the riffs we've had over the years, was no. So I hear what you're saying, but it's convenient or I don't know, people always look at it from their perspective. There's a history to all that.
Oh, no, I know.
So
And that's
it's always been a different, it's not necessarily tied just to this particular project. It predated all that.
Okay.
And he came from the state water, his history and you know, DWR, is that where you work? Water Board.
Division of
So
Water
he came in
Rights,
with a perspective.
DWR.
And we've always had, I've been the guy that says low rates don't sell the water. He says raise the rates and sell the water. I mean, this is, you know, you're pinning him down like he's that simple a guy. It's all just a project. It's been a complex issue for many years. We looked into it years ago, and it was the refill criteria that killed me. Even when I'm starting off again, so I'm going, okay, so let's listen. And back when Jeff Meath was our attorney, and we had a workshop about it, and it came back to this doggone refill criteria. So if you were ever gonna do it, you'd have to pick your timing because you can't refill. It didn't make sense to me anyway. And then the way the state mandates it, it's a very complex issue. So I wanted to enhance what you were saying because you were simplifying it somehow to this project in your perspective as the Foothill Water Network. There's been some history back there. And it's an old, so the board still has our opinions and we do. That's what I'm trying to support you here with, or not you, but I go back to, we already said we weren't gonna sell the water or commit the water to the state.
Okay.
And that's why they didn't like it. So I'm not surprised they rejected us, because we said, I mean, yeah, so peace and love. Again, there is a motion on the board.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
I'd like to.
Director Wilcox.
You're not allowed to get down off your soapbox quite yet.
Okay, here we go. Item, everybody. We get to talk.
Basically, you know, what Tracy's saying is because this is being built on a state filing and state filings are, because this is being built on a state filing and because state filings are subject to county and area of origin rules. Is that any better?
Trouble.
All right.
Microphone troubles.
Yeah,
We
sorry.
know them.
Nobody ever wants me to speak into the microphone.
We have applied for this project on a state-filed application, and those are subject, obviously, to area and county of origin statutes. In this particular case, I think it's the county of origin statutes that are probably most applicable, and your contention that you can't sell water out of district if a project has been built on a county of origin, area of origin filing, that's a legal question, and I think it's one that where the law is on our side. Some of the biggest projects in the state have been built on state filings. Yuba County Water Agency, our neighbor to the north, is the biggest transfer of water in the state. Bullard's Bar was built on a state filing. The State Water Project, the Central Valley Project, those projects were all built on state filings that have water right priorities to 1927. And those were all filed on the same day and within minutes of each other in 1927. So, the question that you raise is an interesting question, but it's basically a legal question. We're not going to decide that legal question here or now. The question before us is a simple one. The simple one is whether or not we appeal this application and appeal our public benefit ratio designation. And I think there's no question in my mind that we not do that. I totally agree with Scott.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there any more public comment? And just for the students in the audience, the reason we're able to respond to this item is because it's on the agenda, whereas the other one wasn't on the agenda, so just for your information.
The other one being when he was educating you about the public comment. We're supposed to really be quiet and just take it.
Yeah, because it's non-agenda.
It's hard.
Yeah, and as you can see,
this is where we get to.
when it does get on the agenda, things do change a bit. So are you ready, Sid? So Sid,
Yes, I've
we
been
got
ready.
a little off, not a lot off topic, but the door was opened a little bit, so I think we could close it to the topic at hand.
My name is Sid Brown, and just a little bit of history, using my memory. When this grant proposal was presented to the board, my understanding and memory is the board had not seen the grant application at that time. In fact, the application was protested by members of the public before it was even submitted, believing that it was an improper, ill-advised grant to go after. So revisionist, whatever, but 6 months later, lots of time, lots of effort, consultants no doubt, staff no doubt, members of the public no doubt, going down to the Water Commission, newspaper reporting, all for what? I really abhor the waste of effort, time, and energy that has been applied to this unnecessary activity. Therefore, I would recommend that you modify the proposal that is to not appeal the PBR, but I would recommend and ask that you withdraw the application to curtail this unnecessary effort for now. Now, I have one item to say, and then I will speak. Do you want to talk now, Scott, or shall I finish what I'm going to say?
Raising my hand to be recognized, yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
All right. I reluctantly point out another disappointing example of what I presume to be an error in the agenda item. The General Manager's staff report is dated February 5th, 2016. I do need to ask, when was this letter composed? How can we trust the accuracy of an engineering and critical environmental quality reporting and operation when this sort of error goes forward? Now, I think I know what was meant, but that's not what is on paper. What if it's a decimal point? What if it's another, O-ring, valve, etc.? I really request that you demonstrate the kind of accuracy that I know you're capable of, so that we, the public, can trust the actual things that we see and read. Thank you. But I do request that you withdraw the application.
Oh, no, I'll tell him that, it's okay. Go ahead, Director Miller. Thank
So,
you.
you got me to raise my hand on the first part of that discussion. In medicine, we always say that hindsight's 20/20. If we knew what the answer was, sure, we would have done things differently. We were doing our job. You were chastising us or something there. As politicians, we're supposed to explore the options of where the monies may be. We would be remiss. Now, we made it, again, I go back to my motion where I said, no, we're not going to commit water to the Delta. Jerry Brown, blah, blah, blah. We need to not build those tunnels. But, yeah, that's all we're doing. So, again, clarity, you don't want to pollute yourself. Clarity is what we all seek, and it is also the impediment to knowledge. In that, you look at somebody to go, all right, well, they blah, 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 they're peeing too much and they're drinking too much, they've got diabetes. That's great, and it's clarity, but you still do the confirmatory test, okay? So this is the world I come from. So here's money's being offered, whatever the big number was, 160 million. Yeah, we're going to explore it a little bit. And to do that, you have to apply. So when you say it's a waste of time, I hear you, hindsight 20/20, as we're saying let's not appeal. But that's not us doing our job either. We are elected to represent everybody, not just yourself or anybody else. That, you know, that's part of the process because it is public. And that's, so when you chastise us, yeah, you're chastising us for doing our job, to explore these things. Again, back to the premise of the project and everybody's for and against. I understand that. But literally, in the process, we need to explore the avenues that are there. We are the interface with the state, and we would be the ones that would apply for it. So, and again, my motion is to not appeal. It's already there and seconded.
Would you consider amending your motion to withdraw?
I made my motion, and it is stated as such for the very same reason. There may be future opportunities, not on this particular one. I don't want to... See, again, you're being so absolute, and in medicine, you wind up killing somebody that way. You got to leave... You got to let the game come to you. Is that medicine?
Well,
30 years of it, I never got sued, and I swear it's because I listen to the nurses and I listen to the patients. They do, and you let it be, and you don't want to be. And then the really smart guys that I've worked with that have been sued 4 and 5 times, and God bless them, but they get so hung up on just being right, and they don't allow it. So that's why I say not appeal. It is, if you prefer cards, then it's more of a, you can pass, not always counter in contract bridge and things like that. So my motion is there. No, I'm not going to amend my motion for you, Sid. It stands. But again, we were doing our job by exploring this.
Thank you. Thank you, Sid.
I would submit at the time that this board voted to go ahead and submit an application, the board did not know the nature of the application and was voting in a vacuum, and that is my comment and concern.
Thank you.
And the minutes don't support that.
There.
My motion is made for us, and then we did the resolution.
Thank you, Sid.
It was done. Word to the minutes.
Okay, one more public comment.
Nicole Ragland,
Thank
Grass
you.
Valley.
Mr. Love for you.
I'd like to address a couple
Take it
things
away,
that
Rod.
were said by members of the board. Alternatives have been suggested, and they're very feasible ones, raising the height of existing dams, because as we all know, filling several dams is a lot more difficult than filling a few, especially in drought years. The lower a dam gets, the quicker you're going to lose water to evaporation, and it's going to be harder to keep that water potted. Just common sense. The second thing is, Mr. Miller, hindsight is indeed 20/20, and I hope and pray that someday you don't have to look back and say that this dam was a bad idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right on.
Okay, could you please keep the comments relative to the CWC application? All these other items could have been done earlier, so I don't
Well,
want
it
to
couldn't have been
open
done
the door.
earlier, sir, because with the delay outside, you can't get from the outside
I don't-
TV screen to here by the time you say public comment and close it. So you need to be aware of that.
Well, the public comment period is ended.
I know, but this is on this subject, so
Okay,
I'll
go
relate
ahead.
it to this
So,
subject.
what's your
And
name?
Matthew Coulter.
Okay.
And it's really sad on Valentine's Day that I have to come here and say that it's a bummer that NID employees used to be really part of the family of Nevada County. And now it seems like they all have frowns on their faces. They don't want to communicate with people. They're getting the fallout from these things that are going on at this board. And basically, I think a lot of these people are here to do intervention, is what's come down to. Because you guys are on a hardcore drug, and you need to realize that you're holding us hostage with water that we need to live. We need it. You drink it, I drink it, we all drink it every day.
Hold on 1 second.
But what you do is waste these people's time with these type of things that are so life-dependent, yet you want to sell it downstream. So if someone's doing that in my family and robbing from my family, there's going to be an intervention. And I'm sad to say that as deep as you guys are into this, the intervention that will come in the future will probably be from a lot of young people doing things that aren't really legal, okay?
I think
it's unfortunate, but sometimes you have to take those extreme measures to wake people up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And no more, I'm sorry, but next time, please, try and do it during public comment, okay?
Well, allow people to get from that room to this room.
So, sorry about that, but I'm sorry, it's done. Go ahead, Peter.
Good morning, Peter Van Zant, Ridge Estates Road. I am a customer of NID. Just want to wrap up what I heard this morning and what I studied in looking at your application. One, the application was written by staff and given to you on a consent calendar and then had to be pulled. Nancy looked and had an opinion about the quality of the writing compared to the requirements from the state, the zero public benefits. But there was a second item that was clear, and that's the benefit to the Delta, which your board said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to ship out water. We support that, and for the reasons that Nick went into, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is, little surprised that there was no staff report based on our request about the chances of this application failing in May because you didn't meet one of the basic requirements. It's really clear. Benefit to the Delta or a tributary. Your application, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, says specifically there is no benefit. So, while I support the motion that's on the board, I would also say once you pass that, then someone else could make a motion to pull the application at this point. Because what you're going to do is continue having staff involved, yourselves involved. The state's going to have to deal with all of this. It's in May, and probably to no outcome that's going to be positive in terms of the application. You didn't meet the basic requirements. Now, I don't know if staff has talked to their staff, the CWC staff, to get an inkling of where that would be. That would be normal in these things. So I strongly recommend and support what Sid said earlier. Let's kill this thing. Let's not waste any more time on it. As Nick said, it's $11 million out of a large number that Otis brought up. So one way or another, it's not going to change the outcome of your project on that one. So that's my input.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, one more.
Hi, Diana Suarez, Colfax,
Within
California.
that narrow range, right? Okay, within the CWC application.
Right.
Okay.
I too used to write grants, and when I looked at this grant, I was sad for you guys. But if you don't withdraw the grant, then this grant will be up in front of the public, in front of the state, in front of the State Water Resources Control Board, and with public comment down at the California Water Commission District. I analyzed the recreation output for the application, and I'm continuing to analyze, and I will have some more statistics showing what the without project use will be. And I think if you withdraw it now, you'll save yourself some face. I mean, not appealing it, your application's still out there with a big fat 0 in front of everybody. And we will go out there and talk about it, but if you want to withdraw it, then it'll be over and done with, and you won't be throwing good money after bad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Any change in the motion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Division 1.
I'm sorry.
Division 2.
Aye.
Division 3.
Aye.
Division 5.
Aye.
Division 4.
Aye. Motion passed. Item number 7, anyone who wants to leave now can if they want to. If they're I didn't mean it that way. I meant that if your item has been discussed. Yeah, we have a 2-minute break here, so give you time. If you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. Okay, here we go again.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Everybody back in place here. We're going to go to item 7, Penn Valley Tanks Painting Project. Brian.
Good morning, board, staff, and audience. I'm Brian Powell, Maintenance Manager, NID. Here today to request the award of a painting contract for the Penn Valley Tanks to Elements Painting of State Line, Nevada for the cost of $274,000. These 2 tanks are located on the hill above Penn Valley Drive and Easy Street down in Penn Valley. Staff solicited bids from 5 painting contractors, 5 contractors that we have experience with and we know the quality of their work. 4 of those 5 responded. Bids were opened on January 30th, and the Elements Painting from State Line, Nevada was the low bid. The difference between the first bid and the second bid was about 2%, and the difference between the first and the third bid was 5%. So we had a nice, tight bidding process. I'm happy with the numbers that we got. And we did, just to let you know, on the budgetary side, we did have $350,000 budgeted for the 2018 budget. That was approved, and so we came in under that budget amount. So I just want to give a quick update of where we are on this tank painting process. Typically, the process is to go through these tanks. We blast off the old coating and we recoat with a new polyurethane. It's an NSF 61 approved for potable water. And a couple years ago, I came to the board and said that we're working towards getting away from having to do a complete reblast and paint of the tanks. And we're moving closer towards just going in and inspecting the tanks and doing spot repairs where there's corrosion issues. We are moving closer to that. We've been on this program of repainting a couple of tanks a year for the past about 18 years or so. And so of the 42 tanks, we're getting closer and closer to that point. And last year we actually did start doing the spot repair. For Timber Ridge tank, we have a third-party inspector, Pat Kennerson. He goes in and does the inspections for us, and we noticed that there was a number of corrosion spots, so we went in, ground those down, repainted them, and got that tank back up, and we're going to probably get another 10 years of service out of that tank. This year we went into Shell Ridge Tank A. It's a 3 million gallon tank. It's 130 feet across, 32 feet high. It's a huge tank. It would cost probably $500,000 to repaint that under normal conditions. We have Pat going in to do the spot repairs for about $7,000 this year, and we'll probably get another 10 years of life out of that one also. And so this is kind of the progress we're doing and moving forward. I did want to mention too, Shad Chidduck took over the treated water supervisor spot a couple of years ago. We're really on a focused program right now of doing inspections throughout the district. We're taking on about 8 tanks a year, doing the inspections on them, and so we're on a 5-year rotation at this point. So we're really moving towards trying to save the district money, trying to save the ratepayers money, and keeping the quality of the tanks up to good standards.
Excellent job, Brian. And you also get to inventory these same savings at the end of the year when we do our annual reflection on where
Yeah.
We're trying to
Yeah, we're
save
looking at
money.
Cost
Yeah.
savings measures, yeah.
Excellent job, sir.
Thank you. Any questions?
Any comment on that? Director Wilcox?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
I believe Director Weber had a question.
So what's our experience with this company?
The company itself is fairly new, but the gentleman that started it used to work for Redwood Payne, and he was the supervisor on site doing the work, and so he's a very qualified and competent individual.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any more questions?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Yeah, I'd simply move that we award contract number M 2018-01 for painting.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a mistake.
Let me read that.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, there's my typo of the day there.
Oh,
so.
okay, that's another example.
There we go. Sorry about
Okay.
that. So I apologize.
I'm just reading off the
It is,
agenda.
yeah, I know. It is 2018-03.
Oh, 03. Hopefully you will award the contract correctly.
Yes, we will.
Regardless of the number.
To the correct person and for the right amount of money.
Thank you.
So to be clear, the staff report is correct.
In the amount of $274,000 and authorize the general manager to execute the necessary documents.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on the item? Okay. Roll call, please.
Division 1?
Aye.
Division 2?
Aye.
Division 3?
Yes.
Division 5?
Aye.
Division 4?
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you, Board.
Next is the California Environmental Quality Act contract for replacement of the Hemp Hill diversion.
Good morning, Board, public,
Gary
and
King.
staff. Gary King, Engineer Manager for the district. This is item 8 of the general orders. This is a CEQA contract for replacement of the Hemp Hill diversion structure for TAR number 7032. The request is to approve a contract with Helix in the amount of $228,000 for CEQA work on the Hemp Hill diversion structure replacement as recommended by the January 16, 2018 Engineering Committee, and authorize the general manager to execute the appropriate documents. In addition, this was reviewed by the Hemp Hill TAC, Technical Advisory Committee, and they had the opportunity to look at this contract, at this proposal. The district has been working on the replacement of the Hemp Hill facility. Presently, we have done an options analysis, and we are working on what's called alternate 4, which is riverbank infiltration. That facility would ultimately end up with the existing diversion structure going away. So that's the goal of this, is to see if we can make that happen. The EIR, we plan to do an EIR on this project, Environmental Impacts Report. The project, we requested proposals from 3 consultants. One was not able to do that. The other 2, as indicated in the staff report, were $245,000 and $228,000 respectively. The intent would be to approve this contract with Helix, and it's a recommendation to the Engineering Committee to approve this. The current budget impact is currently there's $218,000 in the budget. 218 budget, sorry, there's $400,000. After this commitment, there'll be $172,000 remaining in this year's budget.
Thank you. Gary, for the public, could you please give a little history on the Hemp Hill diversion and the reason why it's being taken down?
And why we're doing an EIR now.
Why we're doing an EIR.
Okay. The existing Hemp Hill
And who is TAC?
Technical Advisory Committee.
That part.
The
I
TAC
meant, is that a citizens group that we've engaged down in Auburn Ravine?
It's actually represented from some of the stakeholders in the area, plus the regulatory agencies.
So we're trying to reach out and have public involvement in the process.
To go over the Hemp Hill
Yes?
diversion, what's her?
Yes?
Yes.
I didn't, yeah.
Yeah.
We just gotta do it in there.
So at this point, why we're working on the Hemp Hill diversion, the Hemp Hill diversion structure has been indicated as a partial obstruction to the salmon going up the Auburn Ravine, and the intent is to remove the structure such that we can allow the river to go follow its normal course and reduce that indicated partial obstruction.
Okay, and the reason for the CEQA?
The CEQA is an environmental impact report. We understand that the Auburn Ravine has a lot of different issues in it. and doing an environmental impact report for this construction is necessary because we are doing a project.
We have an endangered species.
Yeah, we have all types of stuff in there.
Right.
Was the environmental impact report required as a condition of any grant funding?
No, it is not. Okay? It is required of us doing a project of this nature in an environment.
It was
such as this.
our decision alone.
Correct.
It was not a requirement that was laid upon us.
No.
Director Weber?
Sorry.
Could you expand a bit on the TAC? How many people are there? How long has it been there? And how is it performing? Does it meet regularly, or is it a one-time meeting, or?
The TAC met Monday of this week down in DWR. Attendees ranged from the Friends of Auburn Ravine to DWR to NIMPS, National Marine Fisheries, and other organizations. Fish and Wildlife were there too. They are all, we send normally out emails over what's going on and input on items. That was to have a face-to-face conversation. That is part of our current grant that we are doing studies of fish and water quality in that area as part of a grant we have.
But SARSIS, I didn't hear you mention SARSIS in that group,
SARSA is not in that group, ma'am.
but they are interested, and they might not always be where NID is, but they need to be included.
You said the Friends of Auburn Ravine, isn't that the splinter
That's
group?
one.
Isn't
That's
that the
one group.
splinter group that left Jack Sanchez behind or something? Literally, I'm asking.
I cannot answer the
No, I
issue
mean,
between them and Jack
Used to only
Sanchez.
be Sarsis, you're right.
But there is,
But then is this other group the one that evolved?
there's a lot of representatives from the former SARSIS in.
Who brings us the videos of the fish?
Friends of Auburn
Okay.
Ravine.
So now, it is what I was suggesting, as far as I know.
Wait a minute.
No,
Wait a minute. Just be quiet and listen to me.
First of all, I brought up the TAC to highlight it, and I appreciate
Go
you. I
ahead.
smiled when you went there.
Director
Yes.
Weber, go ahead.
When a group comes to the board and expresses an interest in something, they need to be included in whatever is going on that affects their area of interest. To exclude somebody who opposes us is not what we're supposed to do. So, I want to see SARSIS included in this.
Okay.
I was asking who TAC was.
Has
That's all I did.
Has SARSIS
Because I don't know. I was curious.
affirmatively chosen not to participate?
No, they were never invited to be part of the TAC. The TAC was formed as part of the grant under the Fish and Wildlife structure. So they've been driving the TAC selection. But we can bring it up.
Go ahead, Director Drew.
A point of order, please. We have an item on our agenda that we are going to vote on. I'd like to do that. I make a motion that we approve the contract to do this secret work in the amount of $228,000 to that can't read the name. I put on my cheater glasses.
Hemp Hill.
Hemp Hill.
Oh, the firm?
The firm.
Helix.
Okay.
Sorry, John.
As recommended by January 16, 2018 Engineering Committee, and authorize the general manager to execute the appropriate documents.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Director, comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll second it if nobody else will.
Second, we have motion, second. Director, comment? Sorry.
Were we done, Nancy? I mean,
I'm
I'm not against you on this. I was highlighting it because I was genuinely, who are these people? And then I brought up Jack's name because, yeah, he was an interested party down there. So are we done on this subject? Meaning,
I'm done. I've
I'm
said what
keeping
I
it
wanna
open.
say,
I'm
Scott.
keeping it open if you wanted to go further.
No, I don't want to. I just want to get things done in a business-like manner without
Johnny
a lot
was
of sideways
preempting, I
here.
thought, our open discussion here. Again,
Yeah.
peace and love. I wasn't
Okay.
being against you,
We can use
girl.
that, yep.
Okay, is there any public comment?
Whatever. I don't know. People are fun.
Hello, members of
On
the
this-
board.
this
My
item.
first time here ever. I do not.
Welcome. What's your
currently-
name?
My name is William Waters, Placer County resident since 1949, general contractor, and two-time board member on the Auburn Recreation District. Also a member of SARSIS. I'd like to be on this committee. And I
Oh,
applaud.
hold on.
I applaud.
If you want to cheer, you can come up here.
Yes. I
Okay.
would like to be on this committee. Jack Sanchez would be here, but he's in Berlin attending the funeral of a friend. Yeah, it's good. I applaud you for doing the CEQA. You have the $177,000 that was given for removing this. The hemp hill, to people who haven't really seen it, it's basically a broad expanse of concrete that salmon just can't come over. It could have been done better, but in the 60s, you just did it. You didn't do it with any permits. It was to replace some sort of flood damage. So this is good that it's being done right, and it shows that when you do not do things right, they bite you in the butt, and they're going to do it even more in the future. So thank you for doing this. It shows some integrity to Placer County. Thank you, Will.
Sir? Sir?
William.
Were you one of the two guys that bought me coffee that day?
No,
Jack and
I've
somebody
never
else?
been here.
No, down in South County.
I've
You weren't-
never
you
met
weren't one of
you
the guys.
before.
Okay.
I've
There
met
were-
Nick, and I've met Will.
'Cause
and Nancy briefly.
Jack and one of his one of the Sarsis members had met with me trying
Nope, wasn't
bought me
me.
a cup of coffee. All right,
But-
no, and
but
that's what,
I am
so-
speaking for him today.
Right
yeah.
on. So my question about the splinter, I wasn't being offended, but groups, morph or whatever.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've met with, just for the record, I've met with Sarsis lots of times.
Yeah, yeah.
And, so,
There's a motion and a second.
Well, Will, I'm back up here for Sarsis. I'm a board member for Sarsis, and I just want to ask you one thing, Mr. Miller. Can you be bought for a cup of coffee? I like that idea. I really do. A little humor there.
Isn't it interesting that I came away from that meeting wondering what Jack was trying to get at there, yeah.
There
no,
you go.
not-
All right.
I'm
So-
always willing to sit and listen to people, and particularly my own constituents.
Right, and we're
When
ready to
people call,
listen
I
to you
just
most
talk-
of this meeting, if you
just
would just
talk-
let me finish. Now, I just brought that up, not...
I thought you
not-
addressed me,
No,
sir.
no, not to be derogatory or anything. I was
Did you
just
address
asking a
me?
question, just a simple yes or no. But anyway,
I was
Uh,
in those realms.
go ahead.
William has been to my house many times. We've talked about a lot of things over the years. I've talked to Nancy a few times over the years. A very sensible person, seems to know what protocol means and how it's supposed to end up. But as far as the CEQA report, I think that's a wonderful thing that you're doing, because that means that you're proceeding with the hemp hill removal. I don't know what that's going to take. I would like to mention that I know for a fact that California Department of Fish and Wildlife did send you a check for $177,000, which matches exactly the amount of money that your engineering firm said would cost to remove that dam, okay, for $177,000. That was number 4, with option number 5, if you can't get the infiltration. I call it infiltration because you're going to drill a hole alongside the stream so that you don't have to screen to get the baby fish, if you want to call them that, back to the ocean. So that's a simplification and a good idea. Anyway, it's sort of upsetting to me that we have not been notified at Sarsis. And as you mentioned earlier that you've seen some movies and stuff that was supplied to you by friends of Auburn Ravine. That was actually taken by Steve Hubbard when he was a board member, and so those films were actually taken for Sarsis in regards to the situation at the Hemp Hill Dam. And as maybe the public all don't know this, but last year in the high water, by official count, because Friends of of Auburn Ravine did have some cameras put in with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, they had 325 concerned Chinook salmon that came through the Lincoln Gauging Station, that's a huge return of fish. And when you get the Hemp Hill taken out, those numbers will go up. I can talk about Pewter Creek in like '89, they had 3 salmon, now they got 1,800 salmon coming back up in Pewter Creek with just simple fish passage. Sarsis is only about fish passage, water quality. I've been working on North Ravine for about the last 4 years. We've planted somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 redwood trees. We've removed copious amounts of trash that has been deposited in North Ravine, which I've got a small presentation that I could give to anybody that would want to see it. The amount of trash that's come out of there, everything from tires to grease barrels, it's sort of appalling. So we've got a lot that we can do, and we need to get a little better with what we do. And everybody that's come up here and talked today, I think, is very passionate about not having this dam built, and I'm just gonna say that much again, but we in Sarsis are only involved in fish passage, water quality, and that's something we're gonna work on. And so just to let you know, when you're through with Hemp Hill, we're gonna be back for NID 1. The Gold Hill, 12-foot vertical, fish can't get over it, and it needs to be rectified. And I think you guys know that it needs to be rectified to get Fish and Game off the table. So,
Robert, in the final analysis, your interests as a member of Sarsis and the interests of Friends of Auburn Ravine are similar in
Yes.
that you want the Hemp Hill diversion removed.
Yes.
So what we're intending to do here today is provide that opportunity. So
Yes.
in essence, you were represented.
Yes.
Your interests were represented. I didn't want anybody to
But
think
not
that.
in name.
Huh?
Okay. Not in name.
Not in
We are
name,
Save
but
Auburn
you
Ravine
have
Family
similar
Still Here.
interests.
Friends of Auburn Ravine are new. They used to be on our board and decided they wanted to go a
Right.
different direction. So they're doing some parallel things, but they're not doing what we're doing on the ground.
Great.
We're making cleanups of private property because we're a 501c3.
Right.
And as a government agency, they can't go on these private properties, right, as you
Yeah.
you know. So anyway, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make
And
sure
like
that.
I said, I applaud you for doing the sequel because that's getting one step closer to the
Yeah,
removal.
I just wanted to ensure the public that your interests were covered.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can I have your name, please?
Robert Haynes. Oh,
Robert Haynes.
you asked him, sorry.
So I need to ask you a question,
Go-
Will.
Go ahead.
When you say are your interests covered, do you mean directly by Sarsis or by Friends of Auburn Ravine?
Well, they were all one at one time, so
But they're not now, and they
No.
both need to be represented.
Yeah, I just wanted I wasn't talking about them specifically, but their interest in the final work has been covered. In other words, that their interests, they have similar interests.
That's true, have
And-
similar interests, but I'm thinking we're now not going to include them because it's taken care of by Friends of Auburn Ravine, and this is going down a narrow passage, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it is important that these people all get represented as individuals, as a group, but they get recognized.
Yeah.
Whether they've been oppositional or whether they haven't, they still need to be recognized because we're a public agency. We don't choose one group over another.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that.
Diana Suarez, Colfax, California. I'd like to commend the NID board and the staff for proceeding on the Hemp Hill Dam issue. I note that I think the original dam was placed in 1989. That's over 28 years that it's taken. So we want to move forward with this rapidly, and I also support Director Weber's contention that all people deserve a seat at the table. And I want to congratulate you on doing a positive and good thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have something? Okay. State your name, please. I know what it is, but just for the record.
Mike Pasner. It was requested that if I need to cheer, I come up here and cheer. Yay for transparency. Let's have it.
Was that you back there?
That was me. Bring it on. You guys need more transparent proceedings, and you know it. You've heard it so many times from so many people. If these groups want to join in, let them join in. If individuals want to join in and have something to add to a discussion, let them join in. They're not going to jam it up. They're not going to cause trouble. They just want to be heard, and they represent attitudes and ways of life that are not being represented. So please open these groups up to the public. Why not? Learn something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion and a second. No more public comments. Public comment is closed. Go ahead.
Can you repeat the motion, please?
Okay, there is a motion on the table to approve a contract with Helix in the amount of $228,000 for the CEQA work on the Hemp Hill diversion structure replacement as recommended by the January 16th, 2018 Engineering Committee, and to authorize the general manager to execute the appropriate documents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Roll call, please.
All right. Division 1,
Oh, yes.
Division 2,
Aye.
Division 3,
Yes.
Division 5,
Aye.
Division 4.
Aye.
Thank you,
Motion
Board.
passed. General Manager's report.
Good morning, Board, and public, welcome to SAIL. This morning, just quick. My apologies. How's that? Is that better? Okay, so, this morning's water report. So I'm pleased to report the district currently has 234,727 acre-feet in storage. That's roughly 87% of capacity and 140% of average at this time. That leads us to our snowpack, which we've completed our first survey. The first survey yielded 33% of average, and that was at the beginning of the month. We anticipate that dwindling given the warmth of the days and the fact that we don't have a reload of that snowpack. So we're going to keep our eye on that. With those two together, we are comfortably in a normal year, but given the fact that we don't have any appreciable storm windows approaching us, I think that we're in the very near future going to be looking for board's direction to pursue a 20% voluntary conservation as we move into this season, just to try to keep a handle on some of our usage. That does lead us to our conservation over 2013. Our January number is 11% already, so some of the conservation efforts that we engaged in during the last drought are holding, and we appreciate that. Also, at our Bowman Lake precip gauge, we are at 36.28 inches. That is roughly, that's 90% of average, but we're falling in the mid-band. So if we don't get any more rain, we will come in roughly half of our normal precipitation. We are looking at similar information on our 8-station Sierras Index. That number's coming in roughly half of our year-end. And then the interesting problem that the state is in at this point is that all but Orville reservoirs are 100% of their normal. So we have sufficient water in storage, but the snowpack is wildly non-existent at this point. Just a few clarifications on public comment. Committee minutes for all our committees are available online. The agenda and the minutes for the last year, it's on a rolling year, so if you'd like to see what those committees are doing and you're unable to attend, they are public, and I encourage you to be there. Those minutes are available to the public. Also, regarding the audit, we conducted an internal audit on the Centennial Project. Director Weber requested a third-party audit. That audit was approved by the AAPC, and that audit is proceeding. And then a request for a standing item. So at this point, there is a specific standing item on our engineering committee for the Centennial Project. And we will run through all aspects of the Centennial Project once a month, and that meeting also is open to the public, and we encourage you to attend. On a larger scale, the district is facing 3-4 major pieces of legislation. A couple of them are tied to the budget, and we are working actively to try to support the community or develop language inside these pieces of legislation that will protect the community. The first of those is SB 623. This is also colloquially termed the water tax. This is essentially it's a fee, a state fee on meters in the district, and the governor has decided that he is not interested in engaging in the legislative process and has decided to put this on as a budget trailer bill. For those of you who don't know what a budget trailer bill is, it is a piece of legislation that attaches to the budget, and when the legislature authorizes the budget, the legislation becomes law. So this piece, though, requires 2/3 vote, and well, we'll see how it goes. But for the district at this point, it's roughly $285,000 in terms of cost to us directly, and that will be passed on directly to the customers as it is assigned based on the meter size that the customer has. The other piece of legislation that we're watching, and I had the pleasure of presenting in Southern California at the Urban Water Institute with Senator Hertzberg, who is the author of SB 606, which is the long-term conservation bill. That is attached to AB 1668, which also has conservation in it. This right now is being targeted, it was originally targeted towards urban and agriculture. Ag has been removed from the 606 bill, but what it's doing is it is creating targets for the for residential customers for the state of California. There are those groups that believe that the urban water management planning goals, SBX 7-7, which set 20 by 2020, meaning 20% reduction by 2020, that those targets aren't severe enough. And so the interest of this bill is to set a rock-hard target of 55 gallons per capita per day. Gallons per capita per day is the amount of water that one person consumes within the home. So the state is saying if you consume more than 55 gallons per capita per day, that the district will be required to fine the individual, and if the district doesn't fine the individual, then the district gets fined. So that number ratchets down to 50 gallons per capita per day, and then is set by the state board in future action. This is, the urban sectors are really looking for this, and they don't see this as a problem, because as SFPUD, San Francisco Public Works, identified their customer base is using roughly 30 to 40, and it's very easy for them to go down. For our communities, it's a little bit more difficult. So we're working with Aqua and others to try to help this legislation become more local friendly and more multiple solution friendly, as opposed to, we're looking for a bottom-up solution as opposed to a top-down solution. Also, a recent piece of legislation that just came out a week ago, SB 998, is a bill designed to preclude the shutoff of a non-payment account. And so what the legislature is attempting to do is direct water agencies to continue to serve accounts that are not paying for themselves. So and their thought process is that if an account isn't paying for itself, by taking the water away, it's a health and safety issue, and so districts should send more notifications, try more things to try to get those customers to pay their bill. So those are the three big pieces of legislation that are rolling right now. And we're working with Aqua and other groups to try to help that legislation live or die, I think, is at this point. With regard to Centennial, I've already said that we're going to put a standing item on the engineering committee, but also NID is looking to start updating that website. We're going to change how it's structured. Clearly, it's not super access friendly, and we're having difficulty assigning places, and people are having difficulty finding information. So we're going to start a redesign over the next 30 days. The site will remain up, so what's there will stay there, but know that in roughly 30 days we will be changing the site to something that's more along the line of our regional water management plan, something that's just simpler to operate. The Hemp Hill TAC, we will reach out to Fish and Wildlife and to DWR and ask that other groups be invited to that meeting. But we did meet with them. We discussed our current fish studies. NID through Helix has been doing fish surveys on the ravine, on Auburn Ravine. Unfortunately, this year, oddly enough this year, in a low water year, they've only found 6 individuals in the system with only 1 red, which is a little troubling. That's not very good, And tying that to Friends of Auburn Ravine video study, they're counting less than 20 fish passing the Lincoln Gauge. So we know that in a high water year that a lot of individuals, opportunistic individuals, move into the system, and we want to provide as much habitat as we can, and that's why our project is moving forward. Sediment studies. We've completed the sediment study there, which is we did a T-clip, which is a fancy sample of the sediments within or that are behind the facility, and the good news is that there aren't any major constituents of concern, and mercury is not in that material at a level that is actionable. So we'll be able to move that material, I think, a lot easier, and we're looking for it. And then we also have the CEQA. Yesterday at the WHO committee, we brought a cannabis item forward and talked about how cannabis is how the district has to deal with this new reality for us here in Nevada County, and that is truly the district is agnostic to the use, to its legality or not. Our issue is really how do we supply these new customers, whether they're on a residential account or on a raw water account. And I'm Jonathan Collier, who was in the room. We're going to be working with him and his groups to try to quantify the water usage so that we can update our urban water management plan, the ag water management plan, and the raw water management plan. So we're looking forward to that. Other items, staff will be conducting its first-person shooter training here at the district over the next few months so that we can get that safety work out. On the capital side, Shale Ridge Tank Pipeline is complete. We're doing some roadway repairs, so that system will no longer run on a pump treat system, a pump regulated system. It'll now run off of tank pressure, which we hope and anticipate and hope that this will yield lower energy costs for that plant. That plant's one of our highest consumers, even with its solar array. Rattlesnake walkthrough, as John reported out, that was conducted on the 12th. Fay Road and Brewer Road have also gone through, been taken care of with that. We've had a little bit of road settlement on Table Meadows, and the contractors handled that. Master planning for Rock Creek and Bloomfield will go to the engineering committee on February the 20th. That's the report of what we've done is a preliminary design and study of how to bring water lines to that section of the Lake Vera community. So that'll come out.
Did you say Lake Vera?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I
So
thought.
it's Rock Creek, North and South Bloomfield Road, and their arteries.
Thank you.
We will be updating the community investment section of our website also, so there'll be some updates there. The Combi sediment removal project, so internally we had all the project proponents in yesterday to talk about the project and start preparing for contracts with DWR. And lastly, we have county's approval. We have the building permit for the Orchard Springs Recreation Building. With that, I'll take any questions and or Nicolay.
Director Wilcox.
I have one question. When you said that we're potentially looking at which stage 2 route we can see?
So right now, we would only be looking at, well, right now we would be backing into a stage 1 and just asking for voluntary conservation. But I think the thing is that if Southern California pushes hard, we could have another state-driven, governor-driven drought. And if that's the case, then we'll be, I don't know, I mean, we could be back at 36%.
Well, my question really has to do with how we handle.
Turn on your mic, Nick.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize. My question has to do really with how we handle surplus water, declaration of surplus water conditions in a year like this. Because we have water in storage, we have horrible hydrology. Do we declare surplus and make out-of-district water sales or not?
Chip?
I know, that's a loaded question.
Yes.
And by outside district, do you mean the city of Grass Valley?
I'm just asking the question.
Is city of Grass Valley
Yes.
considered? Okay, to be clear, people were talking about selling it to LA. This is local.
Morning, board, staff, public.
Yeah.
Chip Close, Water Operations Manager. It's generally this time of year where we come to the WHO committee and make that declaration of surplus and its availability. But due to the limited winter we've had, we've put that off. And so we're waiting another month to see if more storms blow in so we can make the correct assessment for the coming year. If indeed there is a need for the pullback of surplus water declaration, we can do that. In years past, we've designated outside district there first to go off, and then we go inside internal district islands, and we go down in that order. No official declaration has been claimed yet, and in fact, we don't generally make the drought stage declaration until April. However, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know we haven't gotten a lot of rain, so we're preparing as we speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No more questions? Okay, thank you. Now, next item is Board of Directors items, reports. Directors may provide brief reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended by the directors. Directors may also report on community comments and activities of interest. With that, Nancy?
Yes. I haven't been to any extracurricular meetings, but I do have a couple of workshops, education opportunities to announce. USGS is doing a webinar today at this time on mercury in reservoirs. I haven't been able to find out whether it's going to be archived and you can get it, but it's a series of about 4 issues on mercury, not only in NID's reservoirs, of course, even though they're working with us, but also with reservoirs in other states. And if you need a background in the mercury, there it is.
Yeah, it was.
Sediment.
Oh, sorry. It was on at 10 o'clock, right?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. And then another, the Sierra Nevada Alliance is doing a watershed improvement program annual summit on the 6th, 7th of March in Sacramento. And interesting subject, watershed improvement, something that we've been working on for a few years, so it'd be probably interesting to those of us on the board. I'm going. And then if we're going to move all of the Centennial from the board, or most of it from the board to the engineering, no? We're just going to move it to the engineering, some of it?
We're not moving in. Any of the board items will continue to come to the board. The idea is that the public really wants a monthly update on the Centennial project. And clearly the project update that we do that has all our projects it's too buried inside of it. So the idea is to drag it out, just like we've done some other things, and just have it as a standing item. But anything that relates to Centennial that has board action on it will come to the board.
Then I think that needs to be live streamed so that people can get it. In the interest of transparency. I know that's you've heard that before.
I have.
So have I, believe.
Live stream.
Thank
I'll
you.
go last.
Okay. Anybody else over here? Director Wilcox.
I spent turn on my microphone. I spent half the time between this board meeting and the last board meeting and on Kauai.
Still can't hear you, Nick.
I spent half the time between this board meeting and the last board meeting in Kauai. It was very nice and very wet. So I think they were getting all the rain that we're not. I have nothing further to report.
I don't either. Director Drew.
Okay, we're going to have a brief DVD slideshow on some items relative to Centennial. Wait a second, Chip. But there's been some questions regarding the cost of this presentation. So I'll give you a brief breakdown of that. We have 6 DVD discs at $1 a piece, which is $6. We have 6 labels at 4 cents a piece, which is about 24 cents. And then we have a little under 6 hours of staff time, which is less than $300. So our total cost for this presentation, which is totally portable, it can go out to all the schools, all the community organizations, anybody of interest, the radio stations, the reporters that have columns in the Union, the Auburn Journal especially, because they're so concerned about this matter. And that's it. So $306.74. Lights. Lights. We downloaded all the pictures off the internet for free.
All right, thank you.
The sound was free.
All right.
For the birds, they come with the sound if you ask for it, but you call up what bird you're looking at, and then you call for their call.
Okay, we got one more item here.
You want a copy?
I'm gonna give you about 30
I'll
seconds
send one
to
over
clear.
to the union, because they'll want it. They really want it. And the people at the Auburn Journal, they really want it.
Okay, we got one more item here. The county redevelopment. Oh.
Is it possible to comment?
No.
No.
You can save it. You can come here at public comment time. Next. No, it's not. Sorry, but you can. Like I said, next time it's public comment. You could come. Okay. Countywide Redevelopment Oversight Board request for nominations. Consider nominations to the Countywide Redevelopment Agency Oversight Board for the position of Special District Member. If appropriate, adopt Resolution 2018-4. Making nominations to the position of Special District Member of the Countywide Redevelopment Agency Oversight Board. So with that, we need nominations. So I would like to nominate Mr. Wilcox, Director Wilcox. Sorry, any other nominations? Oh, second?
I second that.
Yeah, if he's willing to do it.
Well, let me just speak to this issue.
Okay.
Then I can step aside comfortably. I've been serving on the Redevelopment Oversight Board for the City of Grass Valley for the past 5 or 6 years. I'm very familiar with the process. Basically, the governor passed legislation some years ago that basically wind down the redevelopment commissions, and so this actually results in some money coming back to NID in property taxes that aren't otherwise taken by the redevelopment commissions. I'm willing to continue on the county board. There's really not much work for the oversight commissions to do in the future. The state is requiring that the redevelopment oversight commissions be consolidated into single county commissions, and so that's what Nevada County is doing. I've been asked by Marcia Salter and S.R. Jones to serve on this, and I'm willing to, but I have to be elected to the position by other special districts in Nevada County, and so this is basically putting my name into nomination to be elected by the other special districts. I'm willing to do it, and thank you for nominating me.
You're welcome. We have a motion and a second, correct? Where's the second from?
Yes.
Over here.
So
Roll
to-
call.
To confirm, my second is from Director Miller.
Yes.
Yes.
Division 1,
Aye.
Division 2.
Aye.
Division 3,
Yes.
Division 4.
Yes.
Skip you.
I will abstain.
Sorry, Division 5, thank you.
Okay, are there any public comments on an item to be considered in closed session? No, so we stand adjourned and go to closed session. Okay, I'd like to close and open. Mr. Cooper, what was the action taken by the board?
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Just for the record, it's 1:12 p.m. The announcement from closed session is that direction was given to real property negotiators. A performance evaluation was conducted for the general manager, and concerning the 7 separate claims, we had 7 separate motions. Each of them will be similar, that I'll read separately. First, the claim of Darian Cox. A motion was made by Director Drew, seconded by Director Weber, to reject the claim, and that motion was passed unanimously with the exception of Director Miller that was absent. Concerning the claim of Jaylene Davidson, a motion was made by Director Drew, seconded by Director Weber, and unanimously carried to reject that claim as well. And again, Director Miller was absent for that vote. Concerning the claim of Micah Davidson, a motion was made by Director Drew, seconded by Director Weber, and unanimously carried to reject the claim. And again, Director Miller was absent for that vote. Concerning the claim of Isaiah Davidson, a motion was made by Director Drew, seconded by Director Weber, and unanimously carried to reject the claim. Director Miller was absent for that vote. Concerning the claim of Paula Johnson, a motion was made by Director Drew, seconded by Director Weber, and unanimously carried to reject the claim. Director Miller being absent. Concerning the claim of Elizabeth Meligan, a motion was made by Director Drew, seconded by Director Weber, and unanimously carried to reject the claim. Director Miller being absent for that vote. And finally, concerning the claim of Tristan Sullivan, a motion was made by Director Drew, seconded by Director Weber, and unanimously carried to reject that claim. Director Miller was again absent for that vote.
With that, we'll close open. We stand adjourned.